Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you've not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Here on Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, this playlist as it is, I'm reading through the many short stories of the classic science fiction author Ray Bradbury, reviewing those stories and giving a few of my thoughts. Basically, the format is I begin with a synopsis and then share some ideas and some impressions at the end. Today's story is The Silent Towns, originally published in 1949. Collected here in the Stories of Ray Bradbury. This is the 12th of 100 stories in this collection, if you are following along with me. So, a miner named Walter Grip on Mars, every couple of weeks he walks into town to find himself a pretty wife. But one time he walks into town and finds that Mars has been abandoned. Everybody's gone back to Earth to fight in a war, and finding himself alone, he decides, I'm going to have fun, as always happens in these types of movies and stories. Basically, you have an abandoned town. So you go around fucking with stuff, eating what you want, stealing money, taking anything you want, blowing crap up. He does all of that. But eventually he finds himself kind of bored by it, because there's basically no point in any of it. One day, he hears a phone ring. He rushes to get to it, but there's nobody there. And for the first time, he considers the fact that maybe he's not alone on Mars after all. So he finds himself a phone book and he begins to dial women's name. He's looking for a wife still, even after the end of Mars, he's looking for a wife. He begins dialing women's names to no avail. And then he begins dialing places like city halls and courthouses and places where there might be government still in place, no avail. Finally, he comes across the idea that he should probably dial up beauty shops because women, being the way he sees them, were very likely to ride out the end of civilization on Mars by hanging out in a beauty shop and primping themselves all day long. Lo and behold, one of the beauty shops in a place called New Texas City, there is someone on the other end of the phone. Genevieve Seltzer picks up the phone. They talk for a while, exchange locations, everybody knows where each other's at, but they get cut off. He's very excited. He heard this pretty voice on the phone. He thinks, yes, finally, there's going to be a woman in the world for me. So he packs up a car and he drives hundreds and hundreds of miles to New Texas City, and she's not there. But he considers the fact that they never really said what they were going to do, and maybe she drove to his village, Marlin Village, to find him. So he drives all the way back, goes to the beauty shop, and there, in fact, she is waiting for him. And she is freaking hideous. She is caked in makeup and overdressed and smells like a perfume bottle. And he's a little bit concerned here because she seems a lot like Mimi from the Drew Carey Show, if you remember who I'm talking about. So that night, he makes her a meal, makes her filet mignon. She complains because it's bleeding and it's too rare. He cooks it more. She decides that it's too well done. Then they go to a movie. He wants to watch something. Instead, she wants to watch a 50-year-old Clark Gable movie, and then wants to watch it again. And then finally, she wants to go to bed early. He wants to stay up late because he feels invigorated by life and having met somebody. And they basically are not compatible at all. But the straw that breaks the camel's back is she reveals that in a box, covered in lace and fine wrappings, is a wedding dress. She brought a wedding dress with her because she figured that the last man on Mars would want to marry her. He's freaked out by this. He packs up a car, drives 1,000 miles, and never picks up another phone again, no matter how many times it rings. So, we've all heard the saying, I wouldn't marry you if you were the last person on Earth or the last person alive. Bradbury took this opportunity to do that literally and make it into a literal story. And in this case, instead of being on Earth, they're on Mars, an abandoned Mars. So the last two people, you would think that they would be able to make it work, to have a relationship because there's nobody else left. But he's a sexist, which is obvious, but she's no catch either, and neither person is very willing to compromise themselves, which is probably why they're alone. I can relate to that. it very much speaks to some of the things that I've experienced as a person. I'm 39 years old, single. I got to a certain age, mid-20s. A lot of my friends started marrying, and it's like you'd see them completely change and completely go off and no longer interested in the life before. And for some of them, it kind of worked out, but you have to wonder how happy everybody is. But also, I've seen people who entered into relationships almost out of obligation because it's like, I'm a certain age, I have to start a family now. And then only they got burnt because in the end, they weren't really that compatible with people. And for me, like, I've never been so desperate in relationships where like I ever prematurely pulled the trigger. I had relationships that I thought could, potentially lead to something that ended because I hadn't, gone so far as asking them to marry me. And it's like, I feel like I knew better than to make that mistake prematurely. And so I find this whole thing relatable because I think, although I'm not a sexist, I think that if I was in a situation where there was just me and a woman, the only ones left alive on the planet, and if we weren't compatible, I don't think that I would be able to make it work. I just couldn't sell myself out like that. Although in that particular situation, I guess you could, just bugger off and never have to see them again either. So it wouldn't be as much of a risk, but who knows? Because I'll probably never be in that situation. So yeah, that was The Silent Towns from 1949 by Ray Bradbury, story number 12 of 100 in the Stories of Ray Bradbury. Next up on the list is The Earthmen from 1948. Be sure to subscribe and tune in for that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.